going to do that now. Awesome. And then I see that you wrote, I'm grateful for everything I have. Thank you, Carolina. Yes, what we have is definitely abundant. So let's start this conversation because I am so ready to talk about skin.
Yes,
it is literally the largest organ that you have. We often don't see it as an organ, but that's exactly what it is. And fun little fact is that it actually takes up 15% of your body weight. That is literally a good chunk right there if you really think about it. But your skin's goals, right? There's quite a few. And your skin is responsible for pretty much protecting your internal environment from the external environment. And that includes things like pathogens, right? Bacteria, toxins, and so much more. It is responsible for regulating your temperature, right? It's when your hair stands up when it's cold and when you're sweating it out to cool down. It's also responsible for storing fats and storing water. And there's so much more, but it's really exciting to talk about your skin because there's so many little intricacies of it. And it is constantly trying to communicate something to you. And it's important that we actually understand, well, what is it trying to tell me? Because if you're not seeing it from that perspective, you might actually just be covering it up in some way and you're never going to get to the root cause. So we're definitely going to highlight simple steps that you can take to improve your skin's overall health, both from the inside and from the outside. And I encourage you to even take notes because this is going to be a really good one. Trust me, I've seen some of that Daniela's notes and it's phenomenal. So I encourage that to take place. But ultimately, how you take care of your skin will determine how it takes care of you. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Daniela, it was such a pleasure meeting you at this event, a mutual friends event. And one of the first things that I noticed about you was, first of all, you're beautiful. That was one. And then two was your incredible skin, like flawless skin. And we started talking about what a lot of people don't realize impacts skin. And that is nutrition, right? As a big kind of caveat to it. But there is a lot more that you went into. And that's why I was so excited to invite you in and just have you share your wealth of knowledge with us. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to you to introduce yourself. And yeah, let's get it started.
Awesome. Well, I do want to formally say hello to everybody who's on the Zoom. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you, Rosie, for having me here. I'm so excited. I am a little bit nervous, guys, but nerves are always good. It means that we're doing something. That's what Rosie was telling me at the beginning of our chat today. So definitely a special thanks to you for allowing me to be on this platform with you, for allowing me to be a guest speaker. I love my industry. I love what I do. I finally found a career and a passion that I can see myself in for pretty much the rest of my life. So I can go on for days and days and days. So I definitely, this 1 hour that we have can be extended to many more. But just a little bit about me. So my name is Daniela Chica. That's my legal last name. So you might see it kind of branded everywhere. I've kind of done that for myself. So my Instagram handle is Glow with Chica. Kind of just flow with me. I am 24 years old. I actually turned 25 on Thursday. So 25 on the 25th. Usually the age where all of the beauty professionals start to say that it's about time to do preventative work. But I've already kind of started and I'm excited to kind of share with you guys everything that I've learned along my journey. I'll kind of start by saying that I am a Christine Valmy graduate. I started off my beauty industry and the beauty career as a front desk. So I started off with a very small startup company. It soon grew when they switched over to Paramus. It's now a very big med spa with a lot of modalities, a lot more service providers. While I was in my time with them, I got promoted to do a little bit of PR. During the time of PR was when I was able to transition to be in the treatment room. So I was recording all the treatments. I was asking questions. I was learning a lot more about the modalities. So at my end goal with that was to continue with PR, but I was somehow sucked into consultations and translating. I am Colombian, so I was usually one of the only ones in the med spa who spoke Spanish, and that was just a door open for me to be able to get even more into the treatment room, really learn about the services. So I'm able to go ahead and explain the services in English and in Spanish and translate for the provider. From there on, I was offered a nice little promotion at a boutique spa in Weehawken. So totally went to a different kind of a field when it comes to the med spas. I worked under a franchise as well. So I was able to really get the statistics down and get the customer service aspect of med spas under my belt. And it was just growing from there. I kept on growing. I kept on moving up spa management until I kind of did a full circle and went back to the first ever spa that I worked at. I was offered a management position and it was growth from there. And I actually stopped myself at one point and was like, I don't want to do this, but I love this industry. And my calling wasn't to ever move up to spa management and move up the corporate ladder. It was to be in the treatment room and make the difference. And, it wasn't only about what I was talking, what I was recommending, but it was actually showing my clients and showing people that I want to do the services and I'm able to give you those results and those changes that you want to see in your skin. So that's what led to me going into beauty school, got my foot in the door with the current company that I'm at. So grateful. I have 2 rooms and I cover all over the different locations that they have. They have procrastinated opening up even 13 more locations before the end of the year. So I love that I'm with a company that's growing as fast as I'm growing. So we're both growing together. And I love what I do. I talk about this all day with my clients. If they're talkative, you'll hear me talk throughout the whole facial too. So I guess with that said, we can kind of get started with talking about our skin, talking about our skin types. I do want to kind of piggyback off of Rosie in regards to our skin. Our skin is the largest organ in our body, and it does communicate to us what is going on the inside, what can be going on the outside. So the skin has a lot of different functions and a lot of different responsibilities. And it's important to know how to determine your skin type, or if you need help determining your skin type. That's usually the first and the foundation in regards to starting a skincare routine or starting any aesthetic services, is just knowing what you can do for yourself on a day-to-day basis and really listening to your skin. I do get a lot of clients in the treatment room who do come in thinking that they have a certain type of skin type when in fact they really have another type of skin type. So I definitely wanted to start off by giving some information, some kind of basic 101 that you guys can do at home. So you guys can also understand your skin types and you can understand why or why not some of your products are working, aren't working, if they're appropriate for your skin type or not. So usually when we talk about skin types, there's a couple things that determine our skin type. The main 2 is genetics and ethnicity. That's usually what's going to determine our skin types. Usually, most of my clients, when we're talking about aging, they start to tell me that, I'm kind of looking like dad, or I'm kind of starting to look like mom. So genetics has a very big role in regards to skin types. Skin type can change over time. So it's not like you're born with it and you die with the same skin type. You may or you may not, but it is something that once we go through puberty, once females go through pregnancy or menopause, it can be something that changes. There can be also other factors that change your skin type as well. It can be to large extremities, or it could be something very small, just like hormonals or any kind of medication that you take. Usually the way that we determine skin type is by the production of oil within our pores. So the amount of oil that we produce is usually going to determine what skin type we have. So if we want to scroll down a little bit, we can start to go over a few of the skin types. So we'll start with the normal skin type. Our normal skin type is more of a balance of oil production and water. So it feels a little moist, it feels soft to the touch, it's slightly acidic if we're looking at it from a pH scientific standpoint, and it has a nice balance of oil and water within it. Combination skin is the kind of skin that we have normal on some parts of our skin, maybe dry on some parts, oily on some parts. So if you feel like you have a complexion that isn't necessarily consistent all throughout, then combination skin is a skin type, and you may just have to use different products for different parts of your face, or maybe target different techniques or different masks and serums towards it. When it comes to our oily skin types, that's when we're having an overproduction of our sebaceous glands, which is what creates that oil within the skin. Usually oil is created so the skin can stay moist, so it can stay hydrated, so it can be able to absorb anything that we put on it correctly. So our skin is going to be our protective barrier. When we have an oilier skin, that means our sebaceous glands are just working a little bit harder. They're producing more sebum, which is essentially more of like pus. That also helps lubricate any facial hair that we have, whether it's vellus that we can't see or whether it's more thicker for our men. So usually it leads to bigger follicles. So most people have bigger follicles either around the T-zone, which is like the forehead, nose, chin area. So some of us can tend to see, wow, I have like bigger pores or clogged pores here, but my cheeks definitely don't. So oily skin tone, oily skin types usually are determined by follicle size and pore size. So when I'm taking a look at you underneath my mag lamp and you're on my table and I'm seeing the bigger pores on a certain part of your face, that's usually determining what skin type you have, and it's usually oily. When it comes to our dry skin types, I do want to touch a little bit upon what dehydrated skin is and what dry skin is. So dry skin means that we're lacking oil in our skin. Dehydrated skin means that we're lacking water in our skin. So when we're lacking oil in our skin, that's when we have dry skin. And that can come off as tiny little follicles. We can't really see any pores. It might come off a little patchy, and it might come off a little bit like cracked skin, like we see here in the image below. For all of the skin types, we do recommend that you have proper cleansing, proper exfoliation, hydration, and protection. So if we can kind of scroll down on the slide. So Rosie did ask me a question previously in regards to what the proper routine would be for all skin types. And I definitely recommend that all skin types have a cleanser, have an exfoliant, have something to hydrate, and have protection. By protection, I'm talking about sun protection, SPF, which is something that you will hear every esthetician and dermatologist talk about all year long. So when it comes to determining what products to use, it's important to know your skin type so you're able to give your skin that cleanliness that it needs without stripping your skin. So you're able to exfoliate without over exfoliating. So you're able to moisturize without clogging your pores. And then also with SPF, we want to just avoid any sun damage and any premature aging. So usually when you come in for a consultation with me, that's usually when we'll determine your skin type. I'll ask you a little bit in regards to what your day-to-day activities are and how you feel your skin is during those activities. And that will usually let us know what kind of skin type you have and then what products to necessarily gear towards. So for our oilier skin types, for example, who are having an overproduction of oil, then we would want to go more towards a gentle or a gel-based cleanser. So we are not stripping the skin, but we're allowing the skin to breathe and be able to keep producing that oil. We don't want to necessarily put drying products right on top, because those drying products are going to end up in the long run telling our skin that, hey, we need more oil, we're losing oil somewhere, and it's going to actually make our skin produce more oil. So determining your skin type is going to be the biggest factor when it comes to determining what skincare products you should be using at home. Now, the skincare products that you use at home are actually way more effective than you getting a facial every once in a while, because you are doing this on a day-to-day basis. You are feeding your skin on a day-to-day basis, maybe twice a day, maybe 3 times a day, depending on what you do on the day. So it's important to be able to feed your skin what it needs, and it's not going to give you just an immediate result, but it's going to give you long-lasting results. So there is 2 different.
I can just add, yeah. I love that you said that, because the idea would be similar to, do you want to brush your teeth only when you go to a dentist, or do you want to brush your teeth every day, right? Like, that's really the difference between doing something every day and doing something once in a while. Same thing with exercise, right? If you go 3 times a year, it's not going to be effective as if you were going every single day for even 15, 20 minutes, right? So I love
exactly
that. Yeah, just had to chime that in.
Yeah, you know what? And consistency is key with like everything in our lives, and that includes our skin as well. So when it comes to determining skin types, we talked about normal, combination, oily, and dry, but we know that we hear a lot more about different conditions that people have throughout their skin. So we can go ahead and scroll down a little bit and talk about skin conditions. So there are 5 main skin conditions. There are definitely way more, but these are the main 5 that I see when come in through my treatment room. When I used to work for the dermatologist, these were the top 5 that people were mostly coming in concerned for. So skin conditions can be developed internally or externally. They have different causes. When it comes to internal causes for different conditions, it can be glycation. Glycation is basically when we are feeding our bodies so much sugar that the sugar molecules are attaching to our collagen, which is just the little strands in our skin that make our skin plump. So it breaks those down. So instead of bending so your skin can kind of come back to where it normally stays, it breaks them, and it causes it could cause any premature aging. It could cause any of these different conditions. Also dehydration. We talked a little bit about the difference of dry and dehydrated skin. If we're not drinking our water, we are going to have dehydrated skin. We're going to feel tight. We're going to feel like a cardboard box. I got mine right here too. We also have vitamin deficiencies. A lot of different vitamin deficiencies can lead to different kinds of skin conditions. Just because vitamin deficiencies overall affect us, it affect our body in different ways. So our skin is reacting to that cause, and it's basically telling you like, hey, there's something going on. We need water. Another internal factor could just be the improper nutrition. You know, if we're consistently eating McDonald's every single day, fast food, fried food, we can't necessarily expect that all that grease that we're eating is not going to stimulate our sebaceous glands to produce more of that oil. Another thing that really is important to consider when it comes to skin conditions is genetics. Unfortunately, it's just one of those things where if mom, dad, uncle, aunt, grandma was prone to certain skin conditions, it's not a surprise if you start to develop that as you age. Usually when we start aging is when we start seeing some of those genetic factors. And that includes hormones, that includes puberty, that includes pregnancy, that includes menopause, which is why we see so many different conditions come up. Usually puberty comes with acne. Usually pregnancy comes with melasma, which is pigmentation. Usually menopause also kind of can react and either bring out acne or it can clear the acne. So those hormones can definitely make a huge difference when it comes to the condition. And of course, any medical conditions, if there's something going on internally, your skin is communicating. You know, when we look in the mirror and we see something going on, our skin is communicating with us, telling us that maybe there's something that's not necessarily right within our bodies. But there are also external factors. So aside from everything that's inside and everything that we're feeding our bodies, there are also things within the environment that can also affect and harm our skin and can lead to these different conditions. So when we talk about UV exposure or sun exposure, hear everybody say we're SPF all year long. And it's true, SPF really does protect you. I actually recently posted a photo on my Instagram that got way huge response than I would have expected. And it was an esthetician from across the country who had a client who wore SPF on her face for 38 years and wore none on her neck. And there was a very clear visible difference between her skin on her face and then the creepy old sagging skin that was on her neck. So sun exposure really in the long run is very, it plays a huge part in regards to skin conditions, in regards to aging, in regards to pigmentation, and maybe sunspots that we don't get to see. On my current job, I do see a lot of older females and males, and most of their concerns are, hey, you know, the past 10 years, I've just been getting all these random spots. And these random spots aren't necessarily random spots. If we take a look at the skin under a specific UV light, we'll see that all this pigmentation is just sitting right underneath your skin. It just hasn't necessarily come up. So when we talk about wearing SPF on a day-to-day basis, it's not because you're going to see immediate results. You're going to see those long-term results. Tanning beds. Tanning beds have a huge part in regards to your skin as well. It's not natural to the body. The body doesn't necessarily know how to process that UV light that's coming from these tanning beds. So it also causes premature aging, it causes pigmentations, pollutants, air quality. I recently had a client who moved from Australia and she moved over here and she said that she's done nothing different except just move and her skin has reacted. And the pollutants in the air, you know, she came from a very green part of her country and she's coming straight and working into New York. It's very polluted, very congested. So anything that's around our environment can definitely affect our skin, especially if they're not properly
Even
cleansing.
the water will impact that too. Absolutely. Like the type of water that you're showering with, right? Everything kind of matters. And I love that you highlighted so many of those internal factors and you spoke a little bit to genetics. And I'm going to add a lot of additional insight to some of those internal factors when I start talking about internal, right? So, and as for the external, I think it's fantastic. Like our body is so cool. Like you technically shift skin every 3 to 4 weeks, right? Like you're shedding skin every 3 to 4 weeks. And what's really cool is that right at this moment, right, in your third layer of skin, it's already in production. It's already being made. It's already there waiting to just come out. And so it was really interesting when you shared how you can actually see some of those sunspots under a light, right, that we normally wouldn't see otherwise, and it pops out. So yes, everyday consistency, taking care of your skin really makes the difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's like a perfect piggyback to kind of segue into just poor skin maintenance. Just putting on products that are just not meant for your skin type and meant for your specific skin condition are going to aggravate some skin, and it's going to show you, your skin is going to tell you, hey, I don't like this ingredient, I don't like this product. So poor skin maintenance can also lead to that. Improper skin regimen, all different chemicals, all different types of ingredients can play a huge part to your overall skin when you're applying these on a day-to-day basis, every single day. I think the biggest one that I see at the spa is misuse of product and over exfoliation. And over exfoliation, I can tell because they just get these random streaks right on your face that are just not natural. Usually we have wrinkles around the mouth because we smile and we talk and they're kind of curved. Same thing with our crow's feet, our eyes, our inside of our eyebrows. But when we're seeing these weird streaks of lines and wrinkles that are not natural to our face, that's usually telling me and telling the client that you're over exfoliating. You're taking all these little manual salt granules and you're just going ham, and your skin is getting those micro tears from those specific scrubs. So over exfoliation is one of those more popular external factors that have a huge impact when it comes to skin conditions. And then just photosensitivity to the sun from medications. Unfortunately, we live in a society where we do have a lot of people with different medical conditions, and they do have to treat those medical conditions with medication. And usually this medication tends to give any kind of photosensitivity. It can cause dryness. It can cause a lot of different things that will affect our skin. So when we're taking these pills, just to kind of help out with any kind of medical condition, it's not to say that these pills aren't necessarily affecting our skin. But luckily, that's why we have estheticians and we do have the aesthetics field, because although we can do a lot internally, there's also that we can do a lot externally. So to talk a little bit in regards to the different types of skin conditions, I do want to make it known that I am just an esthetician. I am not a medical provider. So although I can help treat any of these skin conditions, it is not within my scope of practice to actually diagnose you. So if you come in and I suspect that you have a skin condition, I will communicate with you what I see, and I will usually suggest and recommend that you go to a dermatologist and receive an actual diagnosis in order for us to be able to proceed accordingly and use the right treatment plan for you. But within my scope of practice, it's meant to beautify and make you feel better, not necessarily diagnose. But even so, it's important to know these skin conditions in case you recognize them at home, so you can go out and find the proper care and the proper help. I think that one of the main things that I love when I heard the term esthetician back when I first started was that estheticians were actually the ones who were letting people know to go to the dermatologist because of maybe benign or cancerous moles or spots that maybe people just said, oh, I've lived with this my whole life. So it's kind of one of those things, although we can't diagnose you, we can definitely steer you and guide you into the right direction. So when we take a look at our first little iPhone over here, this is dehydrated skin. So dehydrated skin looks a little bit different than like wrinkly, old, kind of crepey skin. Dehydrated skin, usually I'll take a look. And when I kind of pinch together the skin and I see these weird little wrinkles or lines and little kind of grid-like, it's usually what's telling me that your skin is dehydrated. It's telling me that it needs water. And it's not just you chug a water bottle and your skin is going to plump up. That means it's probably been dehydrated for quite a few days, maybe quite a few weeks. So dehydration is definitely something that when you start your skin regimen, when you start to be a little bit more conscious as to what your skin type is and what condition you have, dehydration is one of those things where 98% of Americans are pretty much dehydrated. So it's the most common skin condition that I see in the spa. And so when you take a look at kind of like the side of her eye, lower lid, and then kind of the side of her eyebrow, those are all little wrinkles that usually let me know that you are dehydrated. If we take a look at the image from a bigger complexion, she's very young. She has a very young complexion. It's just those crepiness that allow me to see that there's dehydration within the skin. Also, a different condition is mature and aging skin. Mature and age, we can't necessarily help, but when it comes to aesthetics, there's certainly different things that we can do to prevent the appearance of aging. So aging is just one of those things that we want to prevent as much as we can if it's something that concerns you, but it is under the scope of a skin condition. Then we have sensitive
I
and
just want to add that
rosacea.
I think aging is beautiful. And if you're able to live a long life where you have beautiful wisdom lines, then you are blessed, because not everyone gets the opportunity to reach that age, right? And so I
Right.
am one of those people who totally welcome aging, and to see it from that place of gratitude that, you know, where that's like wisdom right there, right? Utmost
Absolutely.
respect.
That's our life right there. It's our skin letting us know you lived. You lived a full life. My mother said the same thing. She recently turned 50 and she's like, I'm going to live these next 50 very gracefully. I don't even feel old. And I'm like, absolutely, mom, as you should. That's how we should all be feeling when it comes to aging and becoming more mature. But for the next one, for the third little iPhone right here in the middle, so one of the most popular or one of the most common skin conditions that I also see aside from dehydration is sensitive, sensitized, or rosacea skin. So this is something that you will most likely start to notice around the cheek area, and then you would kind of communicate with your esthetician and get the proper diagnosis from a dermatologist or a physician assistant. When it comes to this skin conditions, it is contraindicated, or it is kind of like a no-no when it comes to certain products, certain ingredients, and certain modalities that you would use either at home or in the treatment room. So we always want to kind of be careful a little bit when it comes to sensitive, sensitized, or rosacea skin, because we don't want to aggravate it. If we take a look at the image, her skin is inflamed, it's red, it's a little angry, we like to say in the aesthetics field, and we have a lot of broken capillaries. When we go in and we disrupt that and we angry it even more, it's going to pop out even more. And so when it comes to sensitivities, burnings, itching, listen to your skin. Your skin is telling you that it does not like the product. So a little bit of water goes a long way to just wipe anything off. And that's something that I always tell my clients. Like, if you have a product at home that you see all your friends using and they love it, but your skin is not liking it, just splash the water on and take it off. It's not for you, and it's totally okay. It's okay to not follow every TikTok trend and not follow what everyone is doing, because at the end of the day, we're all unique and we are all completely different. So when it comes to sensitized and sensitive rosacea skin, I like to tell my clients to really pay extra attention to those areas, because your skin is telling you that there's something going on with these topical products once you start feeling that burning, itching sensation. Then we also have
And I'll add
hyperpigmentation.
something to that too, that, you know, signs of rosacea, they tend to be more indicative that something you're consuming, it is not agreeing with you. It tends to be more of an internal factor. I've helped a number of clients who experience rosacea throughout either their body or through on their face, different parts, right? And I want to say like a good 70% of the time, the moment that we start working on nutrition and we start implementing certain things, it like clears out, it heavily improves, like they see a significant difference. And so this is often a sign that the inflammation is starting from the inside and it's actually
Right.
excreting from the outside. So just wanted to add that in too.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that plays a huge part also in genetics. Sometimes we have something a little bit deeper going on in our genetics within our bodies, and it comes out as rosacea. So it's important to kind of, they say don't read a book by its cover, read your skin by its cover. It's telling you because
Absolutely.
there's something going on. So we'll move on to hyperpigmentation. Hyperpigmentation is a condition that pretty much everyone suffers from, especially our darker skin tones. They tend to hyperpigmentate a little bit more. There's two different kinds of pigmentation. The most popular and common one is hyperpigmentation. Hyper meaning there's an overproduction. So it's going to have darker spots. Hypopigmentation means that there's a lack of. So that's when we take a look at the skin and there's more white patches, lighter patches. But hyperpigmentation is usually what comes from acne scarring, it comes from sun exposure, it comes from just trauma to the skin. So if we gave ourselves a cut, if we gave ourselves a burn and the skin decided to heal a little different pigmented, it's called hyperpigmentation. And there's a lot of modalities and services that you can do to help all of these skin conditions, but there's just certain skin conditions that are not, you're just naturally prone to as you age, as you heal, as your skin sheds, and you get a bump or two, which kind of leads me straight into acne. Acne is just one of those things that it's acne is a very huge umbrella term, and we can spend a whole hour in itself just talking about acne. And I think when it comes to acne, it's just really getting the proper guide to what it is that's causing that acne. You know, there's so many different contributed factors to acne. Everyone's acne is so completely different. It can be hormonal, it can be tied back into your nutrition, it can be tied back to stress. So you could be living the most perfect, healthy life, but if you are under high amount of stress, it could just be your skin telling you, you got to calm down. So acne is just one of those conditions that it's a little bit harder to treat. It's more long term. You know, it's unfortunately some people just say, you know, one day I just woke up with acne. It's not the same for the treatment. You're just one day not going to wake up with acne. Usually we take a look at the acne, we try to find the root, we try to fix the problem, and then there's much more to do afterwards, because once we reduce that acne, most of us end up having hyperpigmentation. So now we no longer have a condition we're worried about. We have a different condition that we're necessarily worried about. So it's important to know what skin type we have versus what skin conditions, because they do tend to get a little bit confused. And that was something when I first started in this industry, I was a little confused about. So I did want to kind of break those up into these different sections so you guys can take a look. Okay, maybe I have dry skin, but I also have dehydrated skin. Maybe I have oily skin, but I also have dehydrated oily skin. These are all combinations that are very true. They're very real. So it's important to acknowledge them and to know, so you know what to look for when you're looking at your complexion in the mirror, when you're feeling your skin in the shower and having that moisturizer on. It's important to just take that moment of consideration for our skin. It's what is our skin telling us? So with that said, we'll kind of transition over to a little things to avoid. We talked a little bit about what to avoid, mainly like the sun and proper nutrition, but I do definitely want to talk a little bit about these ingredients and chemicals. I want to start off by fragrances, and fragrances just because that's just the biggest issue that I see come upon the aesthetics industry. When it comes to cosmetics and skincare, everybody wants everything to smell great. Everyone wants to put something on their face and just get a whiff of either clean or vanilla or rose, and everybody just wants to make their skin routine an experience. And for different brands and companies, they use this to be able to market that product a little bit easier. And unfortunately, these fragrances, these functional ingredients that are added onto our cosmetics and onto our skincare routines are used to kind of mask an unpleasant smell. But I think that what's important about fragrance is that the most common person doesn't know is that technically under the FDA, the Food Drug Administration, the term fragrance can be used for over 3,000 different terms. So they can be putting 3,000 different chemicals in that product. And because it's meant to mask the smell, it will only come up on your ingredient list as fragrance, as the last product or middle product in that ingredient list. So it's important to kind of just take a look at your ingredient list and really just look for fragrances, especially if you have sensitive, sensitized, or rosacea skin, because sometimes we can be using a product, we love the product, the brand launches like an updated same of the product, and it just has that little added fragrance, and you don't understand why it is that your last formulation worked well and this one's not working. It's important to acknowledge that this term fragrance isn't just a specific essential oil. It can be an umbrella term for all these different chemicals and ingredients that can be aggravating the skin, that can be harmful to the skin, and not necessarily allow it to function to its best of its ability. When it comes to
add something to that, because it's so important, you know, fragrance is something that I coach a lot of my clients to, because, you know, if you're somebody who struggles with endometriosis, if you're somebody who struggles with, there's a number of hormonal illness or disease, a lot of times fragrance is a big one, right? And it's not just a fragrance that's in our skincare, right? That one is probably the worst of them, because your skin absorbs everything within the first 3 seconds that you put something on, right? But it could also be the perfumes that you're applying to your skin. It could also be the air fresheners that you're using in your home. There was a client that I was coaching, and she was like, you know, I've had eczema most of my life, but like, I just can't say it gets better, then it gets worse, it gets better, then it gets worse. And we identified that it was the type of laundry detergent that she was using. You know, so
yes.
the fragrances that are in the products that we use are being absorbed by our body and are causing dysfunction. And fragrance is one of those that are really, really alarming, because of the fact that, and it's actually for most of these here, most of them, once it's absorbed by the body, it's communicated in your body like something called a xenoestrogen, right? And as you hear in the name, it's similar to the word estrogen, which is a hormone that we all have, women in more quantities. And what happens is that you start to increase, your body sees it as extra estrogen. So you have a sudden spike in estrogen, and this leads to a whole array of hormonal imbalance. It could lead to things like infertility. It can lead to things like erectile dysfunction. It can lead to things like the overproduction of belly fat. It can lead to so many things. So fragrance is a really, really big one that I just wanted to highlight to really explore
Absolutely.
what it is that you're putting on your body, in your body, right? Like all of it, it all matters.
I'm glad you kind of chimed in on that, just because when it comes to the medical spa that I currently work at, our medical providers are very big on making sure that all of our linens, all of our towels are washed with with no fragrance, with the most organic and the best kind of body wash or detergent that they can use. And it's because it can cause those skin sensitivities. Even just 1 second of just wiping some gel off after your laser hair removal, it can give you that reaction if your body is not working well with a certain chemical that's within that laundry detergent. So I think that was actually very important to touch upon. Me, especially too, as an esthetician, it's been actually a little bit hard to let go of my perfume, but it's one of those things where it's just like, I can't wear perfume during work because I don't know if my clients are coming in and having a sensitivity to my perfume. I don't want you to come in for a facial and end up leaving with allergies. So fragrance is one of those terms and one of those key words within our ingredients, whether it's laundry detergent, our body wash, or fragrance, our perfume, and our skincare to kind of look out for. With that said, aside from fragrance, you guys might also see fragrance free and unscented. And these are also two different terms that are used. They were created originally more as so they can market it to different demographics when it comes to skincare and cosmetics. So basically, when you see a product that's claimed to be fragrance free, it means that it has no chemical or no added ingredients to mask the smell of the formulation. So fragrance free means that whatever smell you're getting out of that product, it's from all of these ingredients already being put together. The brand isn't adding an additional ingredient to give you an authentic or a different kind of smell. You're getting that smell just because these ingredients have just naturally created that smell. When we see something that's marketed as unscented, that means that these companies are adding a fragrance in order to mask the smell or in order to neutralize the smell. So when we see things that are unscented, it doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't have those chemicals that fall under the umbrella term of fragrance. It just means that we have added on additional chemicals in order to mask that smell. And so when we're adding on these additional chemicals to these unscented products, those are also chemicals that fall under that same umbrella term. So those are also chemicals and ingredients that can be causing any skin sensitivities or any skin conditions that we talked about before. So that's kind of like the little spiel when it comes to fragrances. I do think that it's important for everybody to know what fragrance-free really means and then what unscented means when we're trying to stay away from the term fragrance. So to kind of segue into the phthalates. So basically it's a plasticizing chemical. It's actually mostly used in the rubber industry when we're making tires and anything of that consistency. The European Union has actually claimed and banned this product to be used in any cosmetics or any skincare for the damaging effects that it can have on your overall health, whether you inhale it through your nose or whether you absorb it through your skin. So it's one of those ingredients that we like to suggest to just stay away from, even though it is currently marketed and still within our ingredient list, just because unfortunately the FDA is just currently monitoring its use. But then it can also be looped hole into being a part of fragrance too. So, a lot of our products can have phthalates, but it can be hidden under that umbrella term of fragrance if the brand claims it to be used as to mask the smell or give a certain kind of fragrance. So when it comes to this specific ingredient, there's a laundry list of different side effects that it can have when it comes to long-term use. So if you're getting small exposures to anything, Usually it's excessive exposure and long-term consistent exposure to ingredients and chemicals that are going to give you those skin reactions. But it's just well to stay overall away from it, just because you're putting on that moisturizer every day. You're putting on that serum every single day. So to just avoid that ingredient overall, so you don't have to consistently keep feeding your skin that ingredient we should avoid. It's important to just know that it can fall under that umbrella term of fragrance. Parabens, I think it's one of the most popular terms. It's definitely become very trendy for estheticians, beauty gurus, just TikTok and Instagram to talk about. We have a lot of skincare brands and a lot of cosmetic brands that now their huge market is paraben free. So parabens are basically just preservatives. The preservatives are put in there in order to avoid growth of bacteria and mold within our products. But these are usually kind of different allergens, and they're different endocrine disruptors. They disrupt our hormones. And when we're consistently, again, putting on those same skincare products every single day, twice a day, our skin is absorbing these products and it's making a difference. I like to compare this a little bit to like the birth control patches. I mean, I personally have one, and that's how my birth control works. My skin is absorbing it and it's getting all the way down into my reproductive system in order to give me those effects. It's the same thing when we apply these chemicals and these ingredients every single day on a consistent basis. And the last one I wanted to talk about a little bit was alcohol. And alcohol, it's a little bit funny just because I've gotten a little bit of criticism when it comes to using alcohol in the treatment room, because alcohol is something that estheticians and medical providers use on the skin when we're going to prep for treatment. But I just want to emphasize that from the beginning, I've said that, these chemicals are something that if we're putting on every single day consistently, that is when we're going to start seeing these adverse reactions. So when we consistently put alcohol onto our skin, we're going to become dry, our skin can become irritated. It's definitely going to damage the skin's protective barrier. So it's going to kind of trick the skin into thinking that it needs to either overproduce or underproduce a certain amount of oil for the skin. And even though it's marketed to reduce oiliness, when we take an alcohol pad or we take an ingredient with alcohol and we immediately apply it, we're going to see those immediate results. But in the long term, our skin is going to end up realizing, oh my God, we're losing so much oil. We're going to have to keep producing more oil in order to compensate for the oil that we are losing. So when it comes to a lot of my oily skin type clients that tell me, I keep using this alcohol-free toners, Neutrogena alcohol-free, I usually recommend that they pause that and they stop that regimen, because it's actually kickstarting their sebaceous glands to keep producing that oil and to keep producing that sebum within the follicles, which tends to usually lead to pustules or pimples, any kind of acne or breakouts. But I do also want to talk about non-irritant alcohols. So these are what's called like fatty alcohols that are usually formulated in small dosages, and they are not as irritating to the skin when it is applied into a skincare or a cosmetic product. So a few of them can be like alcohol settle or sterol, or if we see anything like lanolin, like these are all different alcohols that can be. Alcohol is also a functional ingredient, so it's just kind of a little bit unavoidable when it comes to some of our skin routines. It's just taking a look at how high on the list it is and how many products are you using that have alcohol. If your whole skin routine is alcohol and you feel like you're extra oily, that might be kind of like something to consider, because you're applying so much alcohol consistently onto your skin. We're kind of tricking the skin to produce a little bit more oil in regards to that. Now, for the backlash that I was getting, one of the main uses for alcohol in my treatment room is when I do dermaplaning. So dermaplaning is when I take a scalpel and I just kind of buff the skin in order to remove any vellus hair and any dead skin. In order for me to be able to dermaplane, I have to alcohol the face in order to take away all the oil that's sitting on top so my blade can glide nicely. So what I like to explain to my patients and to my clients is that we're not taking this alcohol wipe and we're wiping you every single day. You're coming in and you're doing it once a month. And with that said, once we're done with the dermaplaning treatment, I am giving your skin back the nutrition that it needs. I'm giving your skin back the ingredients that are going to start your skin to be able to keep functioning and be able to produce that balanced amount of oil within the skin. So when we see that estheticians and providers use alcohol, we also have to think about it. How often am I coming in for this treatment? Am I coming in every day like I use my alcohol toner? Or am I coming in once a month, twice a month, or every 3 months? So those are all different things to consider when it comes to like specific alcohol use. But when it comes to a day-to-day basis, it's important to just take a look to see how many products have alcohol in it, and just if you're actually using the alcohol for the correct reasons and not to kind of kickstart your oil production from your sebaceous glands.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add, so I just typed this into the chat, but I'll also speak about it. There is this incredible app. It's from the Environmental Working Group, and it's called Healthy Living. It's EWG's Healthy Living app. It's a green app. This is a game changer for me and a lot of the clients that I share it with, because it allows you to scan products before you buy them to actually identify what are the potentially harmful ingredients within it, right? And it'll rate things in order of like, it'll put it in a scale of like, this is really harmful, cancer causing, right? Like allergen causing, or it'll say like, oh, you got the green light, this is a good one, totally okay to purchase. So I would highly encourage you to, you know, download it and play around with it, even look at some of the ingredients that you are currently using and see what scale it's on, right? So it's definitely been a game changer. And if you're somebody who's curious about having some sort of app like this from the nutritional side, there's another one that's called Yuka. I'm going to write it down on there as well, or Bobby approved. So both of these are really, really great apps that you can scan while you're in the supermarket and trying to identify, hey, is this, you know, product, is this a ingredient, is this a food going to do harm, or is it going to help me heal my body and bring vitality to it? So share those in the chat with everyone.
Absolutely. I was actually introduced to Yuka, that app, very recently from one of my friends that I used to work at a med spa for. And we actually got into a very long, like 2-3 hour conversation in regards to this app, because I went on a scanning frenzy and started scanning everything in my med spa and got kind of a little concerned when I saw that everything or certain things weren't necessarily healthy. So I just want to kind of pinpoint that there are just some ingredients when it comes to skincare and when it comes to cosmetics that are just strictly for formulation, to be able to bond these ingredients together. So I think it's also important to take a look at the app and not necessarily take it with a grain of rice, but do consider a little bit, if this is a product that has been recommended by dermatologists and estheticians and it's coming out red, it's coming out orange, like dig a little bit deeper, see why it is coming out a little bit orange or a little or red, because sometimes the app will pick up on that one ingredient that isn't necessarily the best ingredient, but that ingredient can be so minuscule in the amount within that formulation. So that was actually something that it brought a discussion. So, but I love using the Yuka app. I think it's very fun. And it kind of gives you just a little bit more to think about with all the products and ingredients and just even food that you have around the house. I'm glad you shared that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And we're getting to the last few minutes here.
Yeah, so I can kind of run through these pretty fast. So when it comes to transitioning into more of nutrition, usually foods with high sugar cause glycation, which we spoke about at the beginning of our little session, which causes premature aging and increases oil production, which will usually lead to acne. So when we're eating high amounts of sugar and we feel like we're maybe aging a little bit more or seeing more fine lines, wrinkles, or we feel like we're breaking out, it's usually the sugar molecules that are attaching to our skin and kind of kickstarting that aging and acne. It goes the same when it comes to processed meats and salts and over usage of sodium. That also causes premature aging, and also salt is very dehydrating, so that is also plays into dehydration and seeing those weird fine lines, wrinkles that shouldn't be on our complexion. The use of dairy products, specifically from the cow, I think it's just one of those very common known ingredients or that we know that is going to cause acne. I feel like a lot of my clients who come in that have seen dermatologists for years and have taken all these heavy medications to clear the acne ended up finding out at the end of it all that all they needed to do was just eliminate dairy from their routine and from their day-to-day nutrition, just because it kickstarts that overproduction of sebum and it contributes to a lot of the acne that we tend to see. And that's just not only from the milk that we drink, it can be from anything that's within the processed foods. And then the last one is just alcohol and caffeine. Alcohol and caffeine causes huge dehydration. We hear a lot of medical providers, especially at my med spa, always talk, once you drink a cup of coffee, you got to drink a bottle of water. If you drink a glass of wine, drink a water bottle. And it's just to be able to give your skin back that hydration. So if we're drinking 2, 3, 4, 5 cups of coffee during the day and not giving our body that hydration, you're going to continue to be dehydrated. You're going to continue to see your skin tell you that it's dehydrated, and you're going to feel like maybe you're aging a little bit more faster than you would like to. And it's not necessarily fine lines and wrinkles from aging, it's from that dehydration that your body's asking you that you need to replenish back into it.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. And I wanna definitely end. I'm gonna close this out here. Boom. I definitely wanna close this out by just sharing a few kind of highlight some of the things that you've already shared and give a little bit more depth of information into it, right? I love that you touched on sugar, dairy, and a few other ingredients. Essentially, what are the foods that cause the most amount of skin inflammation? You've pointed some of them out. Sugar is your number one, right? You spoke about glycation. Essentially, what really happens, sugar ages us. Like, it ages us badly. The more sugar that you have, the more that it ages you, right? You can look at somebody who eats a lot and a lot and a lot of sugar, and you're going to see definitely more wrinkles on them than somebody who hardly ever eats sugar at all. Essentially, the glycation, every time that you have sugar, it is forming harmful radicals in your body that are now roaming. And this process of advanced glycation end products, which is what you were speaking to, the glycation process. Funny enough, it stands for AGE, AGE. It's literally hurting your body so that now when you have these elevated free radicals roaming through your body, they're actually hurting the proteins within your body. They're damaging the proteins, which is why you're seeing it show up on your skin, right? You're made up completely of protein. Your hair, your skin, everything. Your nails have protein in it. So that's really one of the big factors of sugar here. Another one is gluten. Gluten is it's inflammatory. It's just by nature, what gluten does is it causes bloating, right? But at the same time, for a lot of people, it causes inflammation. Dairy, as you mentioned, is another inflammatory one. But I do want to point out that some positive dairy ingredients that you can add that will actually support is something like kefir. It's fermented, right? So yogurt, fermented yogurts and kefir. These are fantastic for your gut microbiome. It's processed in a different way, right? You've actually taken out some of the lactase that's in there. You've taken some of those components out and made it so that now there's healthy bacteria, and this healthy bacteria supports your gut. Why does this matter? There is a very, very clear gut and skin axis, if you will. The healthier your gut is, the healthier your skin is. This has been proven through a number of science studies where they've taken groups with a lot of acne and they gave half of them gut flora promoting probiotics, if you will, and the other, kombucha, I saw that question. Kombucha is fermented and also really, really good for you. So thank you for popping in that question. If anything kind of pops to mind, you're welcome to share it in there. But essentially, in these studies where they took half of the group and gave them probiotics, literally more than half of the case studies had actually shown an almost immediate response in even their skin, right? So it has been shown the importance of your gut. Why? Because 70% of your immune system is thanks to those beautiful gut bacteria that you have. And so if you don't have a strong army that can fight some of these inflammatory agents that are coming into your body, you're more than likely to see it through angry skin, as Daniela, shared. I use that same term, angry skin. So adding some probiotics are really, really powerful. That's kind of like the only one in the dairy world that is totally okay and helpful. Obviously, if you can support lactose. Corn is another ingredient. 90% of corn in the world is genetically modified, and you can definitely expect a lot of preservatives, a lot of rodenticides, pesticides, and so much else that is going to interfere with your natural hormones. So corn is something to, if you're gonna eat it, buy organic. And just pay attention to, try going corn-free for like a month and see if it makes a difference with your skin. Soy is another one. 90% of it in the US is genetically modified. So for the same reasons as corn, you might have inflammation that's caused on the skin. You mentioned caffeine, it's a diuretic. And so what that means is that you are losing water, you're losing hydration. And so that can lead to that skin being dehydrated and saggy. It also leads to like reducing skin circulation, right? Your skin is going to glow beautifully the more circulation that's flowing, which is why exercise is so good for you, by the way. It's so good for like nice, supple skin. Alcohol is another diuretic, so same thing. But I also want to talk about these two big ones. High heat oils. High heat oils, and I'm talking about like your corn oil, your vegetable oil, I'm talking about your sunflower oil. All of these high heated oils, in order to extract the oil, they have to go through a lot of heat. They are highly inflammatory, and they cause a lot of harmful free radicals that can actually lead to things like cancer. They can lead to a lot of skin inflammation and so much more. So this is a really big one to pay attention to. The only 3 oils that I ever use, right, are olive oil, making sure it's cold pressed, coconut oil, making sure it's organic, virgin, unrefined, and your avocado oil. And this one, again, making sure that it's cold pressed. The 2 that I use the most are my olive and my coconut oil. Anything outside of that, it can be really harmful to the body. And the very last one here is sleep. And I want to be respectful because it's 9 o'clock. If you have to jump off, you are more than welcome to. There are just like probably another 10 minutes, probably less, of really impactful information that I want to share. But sleep is so important, and it can also cause a lot of skin inflammation. If you are experiencing poor sleep, it is probably going to change all of the decisions that you make the next day, from the foods that you're eating, right, to hydrating on that caffeine because you're so tired. But here's the thing, a lot of your skin's healing happens when you sleep. And so if your body's not able to heal the way that it should at night, you're going to actually age your skin, you're going to cause inflammation, and it's not going to help. So these 2 are really, really big ones that are important to kind of talk through. Essentially, the health of your skin is really dependent on what's happening in your gut, right? And some of these key behaviors that you are living your life according to. Daniela spoke a little bit about genetics. And I actually want to be really clear on the term genetics because, science has really proven that about 1% of your genes impact anything. Just 1%. This is like hardly anything, right? So why do we glorify the term genetics? It's not genetics that's the problem here as far as your chromosomes, right, your DNA. The problem is the habits that are passed down from family to family. So it's really your habits from a genetic standpoint that are actually causing a lot of illness, disease, the same skin conditions that you're seeing over and over. So it's really looking at, all right, well, what did I grow up eating, right? Like my whole life, what was the behavior at the table? Did I have to rush, did I have to eat my whole plate, wipe it clean before I was allowed to get up, right? So maybe there's overeating. All of these things actually impacts your health much more than your actual DNA. So I just wanted to clear that out too. But ultimately, what are some of the things that you can do to improve your skin, right? Because I would think that a lot of people want to hear that part too, right? You shared so many great tips on what you can do externally. And I just want to share a little bit about what you can do internally. So I'm gonna say one of the best things you could do is actually, outside of nutrition, is to actually get moving, like sweat. Sweating is key to releasing toxins from your body. These free radicals that I was speaking about, right? That Daniela mentioned, the sugar, the glycation, AGEs, all of these can actually be excreted, right, through proper detoxification, and that happens through sweat. Even if it's walking a little quicker, even if it's parking, a little farther, so you have to walk a little bit more, even if it's dancing while you're doing dishes, right? Just getting some sort of movement in will really, really support you feeling your absolute best. We also have like the world's best personal trainer in here, by the way, not kidding, Travis Sample. I had to shout you out because you're amazing. So literally get your sweat on, however, and if you need somebody to literally hold you accountable, then that's where you should definitely consider someone like a personal trainer, because you set that appointment up, you got to show up.
Oh yeah.
The next best solution is like, literally thinking about, what am I eating? Like, what are some of the foods that I'm actually eating? And it can be like a lot of pressure to think about taking things out. And so I like to walk my clients through actually adding things in, right? Add in veggies, add in the vegetables that you love. Start with breakfast, get used to that, or lunch or dinner, start wherever you want. And then little by little, start adding it to every single meal. Add in veggies. Why? They're full of fiber that help detoxify your body. They're full of vitamins and minerals that are going to fuel your skin in the best possible way. So add in vegetables as much as possible. The next one is healthy fats. Add in healthy fats. What produces your hormones? Your protein and your fats. There's so many people that actually do a really low fat diet because they've heard their whole life that fat is bad for them, which is a total lie, by the way. Your brain is mostly made of fat and water. In order to feed your brain, you need to be eating fat. So what are some healthy fats? Walnuts, right? Avocado, olive oil, coconut oil, all of these are really great fats that you can be adding. Also, if you're a seafood lover, salmon, it's got all of these delicious fats in it, right? It's got all of these great omegas. All of these things that I just mentioned have omega-3s, which is what you want more of versus omega-6s. It has to be a balance. So these are all great healthy fats to add in. The next few to add in are also really important from a drinking perspective, right? Opting out of maybe coffee once in a while. It could be once in a while. Coffee obsesionados, please do not attack me for saying this, but try a green tea once in a while, or herbal tea. They're loaded with antioxidants that love your skin. So that is a great option. Also, bone broth. Right? Bone broth is so incredibly good for you. It's packed with collagen. It supports your collagen natural production for supple, beautiful skin. So bone broth once in a while is excellent. I spoke about probiotics already, kefir, kombucha that Andrew added in there, your plain yogurt, right? And I always say get plain yogurt and add a sweetener like a banana, mash it in, or some berries or whatever fruit, rather than getting the sweetened already that usually has too much sugar. So it would kind of go against what you're trying to do. But other fermented options are like sauerkraut, kimchi. These are awesome when it's like one of my favorite breakfasts to do, like 3 or 4 eggs, half of an avocado. I throw in some kimchi in there and I put in some like spinach or something. It is so delicious all together. Like the flavors just really go well. So add some fermented foods wherever you can. And then you have to feed that bacteria, right? Your probiotics are your good bacteria. But what do they eat? They're primarily vegans. So it's adding in those vegetables that you added in that supports it. But there's also something called prebiotic. They're a type of carbohydrate, oligosaccharides, but it's obviously a lot easier to say prebiotic. And these include things like garlic, onions. This could be apples, Brussels sprouts, asparagus, cabbage, beans. These all help feed your good bacteria that you're adding in. So every once in a while, add those in as well. So essentially, all of these foods are going to help you not just heal your skin, but what's really happening is that you're healing your guts. And because you're healing your gut, it's healing your skin, right? It helps your liver detox and from that alcohol that you drank maybe, or the caffeine that you drank, or the overload of sugar. It helps detox your liver. So all of these really support. The last thing that I want to share in here before we disconnect, I'm actually going to put it into the chat because, you know, we've kind of been conditioned to think that you need to buy everything, right? You need to buy face masks, you need to buy like scrubs, you need to buy all these things. And so I'm adding in there a link that is like DIY, super easy, like face masks, right? I'm talking about like avocado mashed with a banana. Like these have such powerful antioxidants. They're so good, like vitamin C for your skin. Simple to just mash them up and do. And you can even, one of my favorite like DIY refreshing like sugar scrubs. It's so easy. I'm going to enter that into the chat too, so that you can just copy and paste. But literally 2 cups brown sugar. I would say sugar is literally made for the outside of the skin. I'm just saying, because it is good for that. Half cup coconut oil, and then 20 drops of, I'm a essential oils expert. I teach natural solutions. And so something like tangerine and spearmint, so good for your skin. So I just wanted to end with that. And I hope that this was really informative and really helpful. Your skin is, you know, literally the first thing that people see, and it can lead to a lot of feelings of, you know, lacking confidence if it's not what we want it to be. And so taking care of your skin is really powerful, but it's also understanding the signs that your skin is showing you that matter. For anyone that's here and they feel like, man, I really want to get more out of my skin, I really want to understand more what's happening. Daniela, where can they reach you again? So I would love for you to share
Absolutely. That. Absolutely. So I am very active on my beauty page, Glow with Chica on Instagram. So feel free to come in there, interact with any of my posts, ask me any questions, and then just shoot me a DM. I'm always open. I usually have that communication with my clients off of the spa as well. And then you usually will see the spa that I do work for a link. So if you are interested in any additional services or any sales or anything, you'll find all of that on my Instagram. So you can feel free to DM me through there, interact with my posts, send me pictures of maybe your ingredients and your skincare you have at home. I love being able to kind of interact with my followers and let them know like, hey, well, why did you decide for this one? Why did you decide for that one? So we can keep a conversation going and I can kind of help you and then possibly transition you into the treatment room. I would love to give all of you guys a facial.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I put it in there in the chat, Glow with Chica. And then for anyone who wants to understand from the nutrition side, you know, understanding like something a little bit more in depth, you're all absolutely welcome to schedule a free call with me as well. I'm going to post that in there too. You can schedule a free consultation so that we get to really understand what it is that's going on for you. And for anyone who we identify like, oh, you know, I might have a sample of some sort of essential oil that you can use. And these are pure, super clean, highly effective. If you think about it, we've been using plants as medicine our entire lives before, you know, Western medicine kind of took over. And most of them are actually just copies of natural plants, by the way, but with chemicals. So yeah, if there's something that we identify, okay, this oil might support you, then I'll just make sure that I'll send you that free sample as well at the end of the consultation. So that's been shared in there as well. Outside of that, you guys are all amazing. Thank you for listening in. Daniela, thank you so much for being here with us and sharing your wisdom and just being a burst of positive energy as well. Super grateful for you and everyone who's on here. Pat yourself in the back, because I always say when you show up for yourself and something that is helping you get better and grow, it's like you need to shout yourself out. That's what we need to be doing more of in life, right? Things that help us grow and get better. So with that, thank you all so much. Create an incredible rest of your night, incredible rest of your week.
Thank you, Rosie.
Everyone.
Have a good one, and thank you both as well. I learned a lot. This was really informative.
Awesome.
Oh, I'm glad. I learned a lot from you as well, Rosie. I had my notes over here taking down a few things. So thank you so much for allowing me to be on your platform and for sharing your expertise with us. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. This was excellent. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Awesome.
Woo!
Hey, hey, hey. Let me just end this, stop recording.